What's going on, everybody? Sorry for the early stream tonight, about 30 minutes early. Unfortunately, today things ran a little bit overtime on what I was expecting. Thought I was going to get home quite a bit earlier from, we went out river rafting today with the kids. But due to how late I got back, I've got some other things that I have to take care of, but I wanted to make sure I had time to get in here and chat with you guys for a little bit. So here we are. So we'll get started here in about a minute to 2 minutes. I shot out a text message, so hopefully most of you got that text. Letting you guys know we were going to go a little bit early today. Welcome to those of you that just joined. I saw we got about 3 people in here watching. Hope you guys enjoyed my little video today of over on the river. First time river rafting. That was definitely different and fun and tiring. About another 30 seconds here. Hey, Kimberly. All right, so I'd say we're about ready to get into this here. So let's just jump into it. Welcome, guys. Federal Prison Time with RDAPdan. Hope you guys are having an amazing Monday. Thank you for those of you that are joining. We're running about 30 minutes early today. I apologize. Just got some things I got to take care of, so I had to do it to you guys. Do apologize. And make sure you guys do a few things. A, tap the bell so you get notifications. By tapping the bell up in the right-hand corner of your screen, you'll get notifications of upcoming live feeds, things like that. Also, if you haven't already, text the word YouTube to 35074. Make sure you go ahead and do that as well, because you'll get additional notifications of specials, things like that, when we're running promotions. As you see at the top of the screen, it says text YouTube to phone number 35074. That puts you on a special notification list separate from YouTube. So subscribe every way you can. Subscribe to YouTube. Subscribe also with the texting service. Hope all of you are having an amazing Monday. I'm RDAPdan, so let's kind of jump into this. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about federal prison and the mentality of what happens to a lot of guys when they go in, and the choices and the decisions that you have once you actually enter into federal prison, and how you can control your outcome of what's going to happen after federal prison. Most of you that are going to be watching these videos, prior videos, this video, upcoming videos, most of you are going to have a release date, which means at some point you're going to be released from federal prison, and what you decide to do with your time from starting from now all the way through your prison sentence is going to determine and dictate what type of situation you're going to have once you're released from federal prison. If your mentality is not right and you're not getting focused and you're not preparing for your release starting now, it's just going to be a nightmare for you throughout your entire duration. And everybody, if I see somebody in here posting and said it's not working, is everybody seeing the live feed right now? Can I get a thumbs up? Looks like my audio is working on my side. It looks like my screen's working on my side. So if I can just get a confirmation from those of you that are watching, making sure that you can see this stream. I'll wait for that before I continue. Okay, looks like we're working. Okay, so when you're preparing to go to federal prison, preparation needs to start now. And Marco, it doesn't really depend how much time you have. I've spoken to guys that 2 or 3 years. I've spoken to guys 10 or 15 years, and people that succeeded through prison while they were in prison and once they were released from prison all told me the same thing. They started planning their life after prison before, in a lot of cases, before they even got to prison. Preparation, granted, you're always gonna be thrown curveballs, but you have to be willing to have a plan and then work with obstacles to make sure that plan comes to fruition. So whether you got 24 months or you got 24 years, guys, if you've got a release date, you need to start planning now. And with social media, blogging, there's so much that you guys can be doing from inside prison that can make a difference upon your release. When you're getting ready to go to federal prison, there's a couple of things that you need to get your mind right on. You need to make sure that you're placing yourself in the right position to take advantage of different programs throughout prison, the residential drug addiction program. Make sure you position yourself to potentially get as much halfway house as possible. Make sure your PSR is properly documented the right way. You want to make sure if you're supposed to be in a camp that you're going to get designated to a camp. Making sure your personal narrative, your character reference letters, that all of these things are done now and starting them now. You don't want to wait until a week before sentencing. You don't want to wait till all of a sudden your attorney says, hey, you're getting sentenced next week, next month, and then you're scrambling, getting people to throw letters together. Once you know that you're under investigation, even in a lot of cases before you're actually indicted, a lot of you are under pre-indictment pleas. A lot of you are working with the government, working on your plea, working on your cooperation before you're ever even indicted, because you know that it's coming. Once you know that it's going to be coming at some point, the sooner you get started in your preparation is going to help you mentally be free throughout prison. Because once you've digested the fact that you're going to prison and you realize it's not going to be the end of the world, most of you are going to camps, lows, maybe some of you are going to be going to medium, but most of you that have been watching these channels and watching these types of videos, most of you are not going to a medium, which means there's not going to be a lot of violence, there's not going to be a lot of politics, there's not going to be a lot of the stuff that you see on TV. So your biggest worry is going to be, how soon can you get released from prison? How much can you include yourself in your family values and keep in contact with your family, keeping vibes going properly, making sure that you know what's going on with your children, how you're explaining prison to your children. All of this starts hopefully months and months and months before you actually ever go to prison. I've spoken to a few of you that have children that have not told your children yet about your situation. Now, if you think there's a chance you're not going to be indicted, or you're waiting to find out a little bit more about your case, of course, you don't want to tell your children if there's no need to. But if you know that you've been indicted and you know that federal prison's coming and you haven't told your kids yet, the longer you wait to tell your children, the rougher it's going to be on them, because at some point they're going to need to process what you tell them. Typically, when you tell your children that you're looking at prison time, they don't process that right away. They kind of take it gets absorbed, they don't know how to deal with it, they don't know how to react, so they might clam up, they might get silent, they might act like it's no big deal, and then weeks, months down the road, they start to process and get a little freaked out, and they might kind of lose their shit a little bit. And if you wait till the last minute to tell your kids you're going to prison, you may not be there when they have that meltdown. So the sooner you tell them, you're giving them time to process it properly, so you can be there to help your kids through this time, because it is a really, really rough time on children. And I can tell you that firsthand. I've got a 15-year-old and a 17-year-old now. They were much younger when I went into prison, but it still has everlasting effects. And, they're here with me right now on summer vacation. They're in the other room eating chicken wings, which is partly the reason why I'm doing this video a little bit early tonight. But I'm telling you, you have to have proper expectations. You can't just think you're going to explain it to your kids and they're going to understand it the way you want them to understand it. Prison is a huge subject for adults. So imagine how much it intensifies with children. So making sure that you do everything you can do right now. Right now is what matters. You can't worry about tomorrow and the next day. Right now is what matters. What are you doing that you haven't been doing? Have you started working on your personal narrative? Do you even know what direction to go in with your personal narrative? Have you started working on your character reference letters? Have you started preparing for your PSR interview? Do you know what kind of questions they're going to ask you during your pre-sentence investigation? Do you know how you need to answer these questions in order to make sure that you position yourself to potentially qualify for things like the residential drug addiction program? Do you know what your actual point level is as far as your custody level? Not your base offense level, not your criminal history, but your points, your custody level points to determine whether you're going to a camp, low, medium, or even a pen. If you look back, we've done a video on the point system. There's a lot of moving parts, a lot of variables. You really got to hold your attorney accountable to get him to help you figure that out, because it's based on so many things. Criminal history, and we're talking things like DUIs can have severe effects on your criminal history. Your age. These can have effects. The younger you are, usually the higher the point system is. The type of crime you had, the weight of the drugs, the violent, if the crime was violent. There's so many different reasons that can determine on whether you're going to go to a camp, low, medium, or a pen. So you want to know these things, especially if you're going to be cooperating, 5K1, Rule 35. You want to make sure you're not going to like a medium or a pen where you're going to have this in your paperwork, because guys in prison are going to find out what you're in there for. They're going to ask you. They're going to request your paperwork. They're going to basically tell you either get us the paperwork or you go check into solitary confinement and get shipped out of this compound, because we're not going to let you hang out. We're not going to let you eat with us. We're not going to let you walk the yard. These are things that you have to consider when cooperating, when you might be looking at like a medium or a pen. If you've got a bunch of DUIs in the recent 3, 4, 5 years ago, that could up your level, your custody level, to where you don't land in a camp or a low. What's going on, Chris? I know you and I need to chat here soon. I think I saw you call me over the weekend. It's just been a little hectic with my kids in town for basically the next week and a half. But really, guys, federal prison, it can produce a mental freedom while you're in prison, because if you're working the system properly, if you're taking advantage, everybody says prison doesn't help people. Prison doesn't offer it doesn't work on getting people better to the point where helping them take classes and reducing recidivism. They're not going to force you to take these classes, but most prisons have programs available that if you're serious about correcting your behavior, understanding where your thoughts went wrong, making sure that your rational thinking is actually rational. We've talked about all of this a million times. Prison is a great place to do it because all of these programs are available. Not every program is going to give you time off of your sentence, and it's great to get time off of a sentence. But even if you can't get time off of your sentence, it's still worth it to take all of these different types of cognitive skill programs, because it helps you see yourself for who you might really be, not necessarily who you want to see. You might not be the person you want to be yet, and in order to become that person, you have to be able to expose your flaws, you have to be able to see your weaknesses, and you can't just act like they don't exist. And if somebody points it out to you and you get offended and you get all upset, that just means that they're telling you something that you don't want to hear. But is it true? Is it true at the end of the day? And prison is an ideal place to look into that, to find out who you really are and what you're really made of. And I don't mean that in a sense of like, can you handle yourself? Can you handle the violence in prison? I'm talking about, are you man enough or woman enough to expose yourself, to become vulnerable, to expose your weaknesses, to wear it on your sleeve, to let people know what you struggle with, to let people know what you're afraid of, to let people know what it is you want to work on, and surround yourself with people that are actually going to hold you accountable. If you're surrounding yourself with a bunch of parrots and a bunch of drones that are just going to tell you what you want to hear, you're never ever going to mentally grow. It's almost impossible, because you're living in this fake ass fantasy world where people are just telling you everything's going to be great, you're doing a good job, it's not your fault. If you're the type of person who always has an excuse and people are almost agreeing with your excuses because it's easy, there's nowhere to grow from there. So guys, you really, really, really have to dig deep. The reason why I chose to do this video is I've got a couple of clients who are really struggling with prison, and they're not struggling for, because it's violent or anything like that. Just the mentality of where they're allowing themselves to get stuck. and just dwelling every day, I miss my family, I want to see my kids, I can't do this, I can't make, I mean, you have no choice, you have to do it. You're either, unless you're going to escape, and that's not going to get you anywhere. I've had a couple of clients who have made some mistakes lately, 2 clients that have made some really bad mistakes. One is in the halfway house already, and he made some mistakes to where he got caught drinking alcohol while he was on home confinement. They called him in, and they did a UA on him, and they're sending in his urinalysis test, and they're actually testing it specifically for alcohol. It's going to come back positive because he drank pretty much that same day. I've got another client who's making some serious mistakes, potential serious mistakes, while he's on pretrial, making some really bad decisions, surrounding himself with some really shady, questionable type of people, still engaging in some potential criminal activity due to choices that he's trying to find a way out of his situation, and he's so desperate to not have to deal with the situation that he knows he should be out there doing community service, and instead of just going out and doing the community service, he's trying to hire people, pay his way to buy community hours, using drugs as a form of payment. And you never know who's in trouble, who might be cooperating with the government. If you're already under indictment and then you're making choices and decisions like that, guys, I can't tell you enough that if you're not willing to change starting now, if you're trying to still scam your way through the system, find a way to beat it, find shortcuts, even if it works right now, you're going to fuck up again, and you're going to get caught because you're going to think you're so slick. And none of us are that slick. If we were that slick, we wouldn't be in the situation we're in right now. What's going on, Edward? Thanks for joining me. Thanks for joining us, bud. So when I see clients making these type of decisions, all it's telling me is they're still struggling to come to terms with the changes that they need to make in their life to create new habits. They want the immediate gratification. You guys hear me talking about how important, or the possibility of the impact on what like community service can have while you're out on pretrial services, on what it can have by showing the judge that you're out there giving back to the community. So you guys hear that and you're like, okay, well, I want to go get community hours, but I don't want to go actually do community service. So who can I buy community hours from? It's not worth it. You get caught doing that, it's going to backfire completely on you, and everything you've done is going to have such a shitty effect. And then even if you do get through it, you're going to be in prison just trying to make or break, or find a way to scam through RDAP, or trying to find a way to scam through different programs, and trying to find a way to scam through the halfway house, trying to find a way to scam through probation. Just stop scamming things and start putting some hard work and some effort in starting now, and do it every day. Force yourself to do things that are uncomfortable, and it will create a new pattern and new habits, and eventually it will be what you actually want to do. But nobody can make you do that. Some people need to get spanked over and over and over again, and that's why so many people end up going back into prison, not necessarily because the system is so broken and it just keeps pulling people in, but people tend to make mistakes and think well, I know what I did wrong last time. This time I'm going to do it better, and I'm going to change this up so I don't get caught again. Engaging in crime, guys, doesn't ever pay off because there's too many variables, too many people involved. Conspiracies happen like that. We've all seen it happen now. Edward's asking, have you heard from Todd and Sean? Sean just emailed me today, Edward, and Sean's doing great. He's enrolled in a bunch of classes. He's playing guitar. He's been helping people. He's doing really good. I haven't heard from Todd in about a week, but last I spoke to Todd, he's doing amazing. He's really just enjoying his time. He knows he's got a long time. He's got a 9-year sentence. So with best case scenario, 5.5, 6 years with all the good time and RDAP and halfway house and all that stuff. So he's completely accepted the fact that he's going to be in prison for 9 years. He's dealing with it really, really well. He's making every day count. And I'm sure he has bad days, but he doesn't focus on the bad days. So he doesn't even talk about whatever is rough in his life. He doesn't even put that into the emails. He just talks about everything that he's doing to make his day better, engaging with his wife, talking to his mom, being a positive role model with other people on the compound, surrounding himself by people on the compound that are doing the right thing, that have been there a while, that know the ropes, but are in the right mindset to do good things once they're released from prison. So I would say Todd's got a combination of he's got mentors that he's following. He's becoming a mentor for a lot of guys that are going to be coming in after him. Todd was extremely prepared. So is Sean. Most of the guys that are Surge, all of these guys are really, really, really prepared. To the point where they're so accepting and willing to just go get this time started. And we're all going to have bad days, but it's what you do with those bad days. Those bad days are what make or break you guys. A federal prison can produce mental freedom, and it's completely up to you. You're either going to get locked in your brain and just make it so much worse than it needs to be, or you're going to tell yourself that they can lock you up, but they cannot lock up your mind. They can't take away your thoughts. They can't take away your visions. They can't make your attitude shitty. Even if they're coming down on you and they're walking down the yard, you can always choose to do something positive and not react to the way they want you to react. Once people, guards, halfway houses, once they see you're not going to react poorly to them coming down on you, eventually they're going to move on to somebody else that they get the reaction they're looking for. So guys, just stay positive. As hard as that might sound, it's really easier than it sounds once you've been determined and you make your mind up to do it. Robert, hey Dan, you're the man. Thanks, Robert. I remember something about Todd getting up to Sheridan for RDAP or something. Was he getting transferred? You're thinking of Surge. Surge had to get transferred to from Lompoc to Sheridan in order to get into RDAP. But he's there. He started the program. He's going through it. Last I heard from him, he's doing really well. We email everybody every week. Don't always hear back. You know, people are busy in prison life. There's a lot going on. But as far as I know, everybody in there is doing really well, guys. I've only got a couple of guys that are really, really struggling, and these were guys that even once they became clients, they didn't utilize a lot of the tools that were out there to help them. So the more you guys put into it, the more effort you put in and what you're willing to do, the more you're going to get out of it, just like anything else. How you're handling your family, your relationships, all of these things play a role on how your mentality is going to be while you're in federal prison. If you're not willing to work hard and try to make peace with your family and realize that what they're going through on the outside is just as hard, if not harder, on what you're going through on the inside, you don't necessarily know how they're going to react. They might start closing down and shutting off and not wanting to take your calls and not responding fast enough if you're always negative. We get it. Prison is no joke. Prison's not fun. Nobody wants to go. Days are going to be rough. But we shouldn't just think everybody should cater to us and I'm the one in prison, so you should be, feeling bad for me. If that's the attitude that you have, it's going to be a rough bid for you. Regardless whether you're a commissary or not, it can make for a rough prison sentence when family and friends aren't returning calls and emails. But I can tell you, if you stay upbeat and you stay positive and you make those emails like, hey, I'm taking every day, even when I have bad days, I'm taking that bad day and deciding what I could have done different next time and what did I learn from this. If you're learning from your situation, good or bad, you're going to progress. If you're making your mind right, you're going to progress. If your mind's right, your body's going to be right, your diet's going to be right, your mentality's going to be right. Once you get released from prison, whatever plan you're starting to work on now for your release from prison, because that's a big day. Getting released from prison is big. Graduating RDAP for me was bigger than getting released from prison, the feeling anyway. But that feeling of getting released from prison, it comes with anxiety. You start to freak out. What's the halfway house going to be like? Can I get a job? Is anybody going to hire me? Can I find housing? Is anybody going to rent me a house? Is it going to be hard to buy a house? You got all these potential hurdles that you have to jump over, but you start awfulizing about them so much to where you manifest this total destruction that you almost give up before you start because you've already decided it's not going to work out. No one's going to hire me. And it's not true. There's plenty of jobs, good jobs, plenty of careers, plenty of self-employment, plenty of entrepreneurs that come out of prison that create, RDAP, YouTube. There's so many ways to create something for yourself or find a job that you're happy with and working a job. There's tons of people that hire felons. You just have to be willing to go out and put in the time and effort. It's a numbers game, and if you're willing to put in those numbers, you're going to get what you're looking for. So Todd, get RDAP at Lompoc. No, Todd can't do RDAP at Lompoc, but he's got 9 years on his sentence. So once he gets closer to his release, at that point, he'll be looking to transfer to a prison that offers RDAP. So yeah, guys, if you have a lengthy sentence and you get sent somewhere that doesn't have RDAP, don't freak out, because you're not going to take RDAP the minute you get there. You want to take RDAP on the tail end of your bid, because you want to finish RDAP and then go home. You don't want to finish RDAP and then go back into general population. It's real hard to use anything that you learned in RDAP and apply that to prison life, because obviously prison life is different than reality life. Prison life, holding people accountable, it just doesn't work in prison. You're not going to go around telling on inmates for, stealing stuff out of the chow hall. Now, if you're in RDAP and somebody in RDAP does it, that's different. But you're not going to go around telling on other inmates that are not in the program. That's why I chose to not engage really at all with anybody that was not in the program, for that specific reason, because I didn't want to constantly put myself in a situation where they're doing stupid shit that I could get in trouble for just by being around them. Association, it can get you in just as much trouble just by being there during the time of it happening. So I decided to stay away from high-risk situations and just didn't deal with it, because my mental game was get out of prison. And what does it mean to get out of prison to me? I roadmapped it to what I needed to do, and there were so many different things that had to work out for me, from maximizing my halfway house time to making sure I got the full year for RDAP, to making sure I got through RDAP on my first try, not getting recycled. These were things that were important to me, and I looked at all the separations off of that, everything that branched out of there, and I tried to focus on what consequences could come from me hanging out with somebody on the compound that's not even a bad guy, but what consequences could come from me spending a lot of time with friends outside of RDAP. Well, friends outside of RDAP, they make their living in prison. They hustle milk out of the chow hall. They're stealing chicken bombs out of the chow hall. Chicken bombs, just a bag of chicken that they'll go sell on the compound for $15-20 for that bag of chicken. And that gets you a lot of commissary when you don't have money coming in. I personally don't have any issues with them doing that. And I can't say that if I wasn't in RDAP, I don't know what kinds of little hustles I might have been running if I wasn't in RDAP. But I knew that within RDAP, these aren't things that I can risk. I can't risk hanging out with people that are doing that kind of stuff. And I found out the best way to be able to do that was to be assertive in my communication. I had a good friend named Dan, who I still would hang out with very selectively, like maybe at a basketball game. I would, play a sport with them or something like that, but I didn't spend time just hanging with my leisure time with him. And I told him, man, you're one of the best dudes I've met in prison, but the stuff that you're engaged in, and I get it, I don't have anything wrong with it, I'm not judging you, I just can't afford or risk it, because the program I'm in, if I'm making those type of decisions to hang out with somebody that's engaging in criminal activity, they could look at me and say, hey, you're not working the program. Even though you're not stealing the chicken, you're hanging out with people that are stealing chicken. As crazy as that sounds, those are the type of situations they look at your inner self and who you're hanging out with, because you're a product of your environment. They like to say birds of a feather flock together. There's some truth to that, of course. You surround yourself with the type of people you want to be like. I never felt comfortable stealing out of the chow hall. I didn't even feel comfortable going through the line a second time. If the guard catches you going through the line a second time, you can actually get in trouble for that. Now, you can ask the guard to go through, and if the guard says yes, then that's different. But if you just decide to sneak back in line and go get seconds, everybody was doing it. But to me, the anxiety and the risk of getting caught doing it, it wasn't worth the food I was going to go get. I was like, fuck it, I'll go eat stuff out of my locker and just eat commissary. I just didn't want to deal with those type of headaches, guys. And RDAP puts a lot of pressure on you to where it's extra. Forget about just getting in trouble from the guard. If somebody from RDAP sees you sneaking back through the line, there you go. Now they're going to pull you up in the morning meeting. They're going to tell on you in front of everybody, and you got to explain yourself. And there's no explanation. The only explanation you can give is, I fucked up. I did it. I shouldn't have done it. I'm not going to do it again. You can't make excuses why you did it. And even sometimes, like let's say you needed to go in another unit because somebody had a book you were going to borrow, and you ask the guard, hey, can I go in that unit? Even if the guard says yes, If something happens in that unit, a fight breaks out, and all of a sudden they lock down the unit and they find out you're in there, even if a guard, technically you're not allowed in another unit. So if a guard says yes, he's like, whatever, I don't care, go ahead. But I guarantee you, if shit goes down and something happens while you're in there and they lock it down and they come in and say, hey, why are you here? Oh, the guard let me in. That guard's going to go, no, I don't know what you're talking about. And who do you think they're going to believe? You or the guard? Even if they believe you, they're going to stick together. They got each other's back. So you're still taking risk. Even if the guard says yes, something could go wrong and it's not going to matter. That's the risk you're taking. Those are the consequences you have to be willing to focus on. Once you get out to the halfway house, guys, you're going to be on home confinement at some point, and you're going to get relaxed, and you're going to be like, I can have a drink or two. I'm telling you, this client that I'm referring to had a few drinks, and then all of a sudden got a phone call saying, we need you in 4 hours. He's like, I can't get there in 4 hours. I live too far away. Like, if you're not here in 4 hours, there's going to be consequences. Well, he didn't get there in 4 hours because he knew he was gonna blow dirty when he had to give the breathalyzer. So, got there way late. Instead of getting there at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, he got there at like 6 o'clock in the afternoon. He blew clean on the breathalyzer, but they took a urine sample, and they said, we're sending it in, and we are testing for alcohol. So I don't know if somebody told on him, if they had an idea or whatever, but he's super paranoid now. He took RDAP, super paranoid, took RDAP, and, chances are they're not going to violate his RDAP. I've seen a lot of guys get caught for alcohol, and even some guys got caught for marijuana. They did get in trouble. They went back to county jail, lost some good time, 20, 30 days. I didn't see them lose their RDAP, but still, now he lost his home confinement. He might go back to county jail for a month. He's definitely going to lose some good time. One way or another, he's going to lose good time, which means he's going to be in the halfway house for at least an additional 30 to 60 days before he goes home. Supposed to go home in September. Now he's probably not going to go home till October or November. I'm telling you guys, these seemingly unimportant decisions that we make every day, those are the decisions that determine what kind of person we are. Because I've told you guys a million times, what matters is what you're doing when no one's looking. How do you act? What are your choices? What decisions are you making when no one's looking? When you're in the comfort of your own home, what choices are you making? When you're out walking your dog and no one's looking and your dog takes a shit, are you picking it up? If someone's looking, we all know you're going to get your little bag, you're going to pick it up, and that's that. Look like the perfect little neighbor. But if no one's looking, you might be like, no one saw it, let's keep walking. Meanwhile, someone's in the window. I'm telling you, those kind of decisions, those really do say a lot about a person's character. So you really have to decide what kind of character you are. Deep down inside, you can talk all the shit you want and act like you've got it all together, and you can post everything you want to post on Facebook about you're a perfect dad, perfect husband, perfect mom, perfect wife, whatever it is. And that's great that you're posting that stuff and glorifying your own life. But what are you doing behind closed doors when no one's looking? What are you thinking about people? What are you thinking that you're not saying to people's faces? You need to be assertive in your communication. You need to live a life the way you want to live your life, the way you cannot look over your shoulder, to where you can be the person you want to be, and start making yourself do things that are uncomfortable, even if no one's looking. If there's a piece of garbage on the road, pick it up. Even though you don't want to go out of your way, don't flick your cigarette out the window. Don't flick your cigarette in the grass. Put it in an ashtray. These are the little things that when you start doing the little things, the bigger things will automatically happen. But you can't just all of a sudden change who you are overnight if you're only making these grandiose, giant, massive changes that are going to be temporary, because nobody goes in full gorilla. Just like when you see people on the first of the year, they're going to go to the gym, they're going to get ripped, they're good for about 30 days, the gym's crazy packed, you can't find parking in January, come February, it's a fucking ghost town, everybody's disappeared, still paying their membership so they can talk about going, post everything. I mean, it's just, and we've all been there, and it's okay, but you got to be willing to make progress, and you got to be willing to call your own bullshit. If you're seeing somebody do something, and you're judging the shit out of them, remember, man, look at that mirror once in a while, and what are you doing to contribute to these issues, or are you either part of the problem or part of the solution? And where do you fall? Are you more of the problem or more of the solution? And it's a frustrating world that we live in right now, because we live in a world of social media. The connectedness between human beings is less and less. Even watching my kids, myself, everybody's on their cell phone. So I'm really trying to like stay conscious of that, and do things like today. We went out on the river. Nobody could bring the cell phone except me. We needed it for music. But and then of course I had to go post live on Facebook. So I mean, I've still got so much work to do for myself. But the point is, guys, is we live in a rough time where if you watch the movie WALL-E, we really live in that type of a world where we're more and more disconnected from each other. But yet we keep talking about all the things that we need to do to improve humanity. Race, politics, there's so much that you can't do anything about that when you're not engaged in people's lives. So guys, take this time serious. You're getting ready to go to federal prison. Make sure that you're actually prepared. If you're trying to get into RDAP, make sure that you know what needs to go into your PSR. And if you're not sure, do yourself a favor and use the phone number that's on your screen right now, 509-434-4695. Take the 30 seconds it takes to use a text message and send me a text. Let me know, hey, I'm going to be going to federal prison, and I am clueless. I don't know what I need to do to actually prepare. I've watched your videos. I have a basic understanding of what goes into the PSR. I have a basic understanding of the importance of a personal narrative and a character reference letter. I have a basic understanding of what I need to do to try to get into RDAP. I have an understanding of what I need to try to do to get the additional halfway house time, but I need some assistance on building that actual roadmap to make sure that you're going in the right direction. So all of those things are going to be in front of you when they need to be in front of you. Once you pass it and you got to go back and get it, if that PSR is not proper, trying to go back and get it can be real rough sometimes. It really diminishes the odds and the chances. Almost so much to the point where it's frustrating to know that somebody's been watching my videos for months and they wait until they've already done their PSR to pick up the phone and call me and say, hey, I'm getting ready to go in, or I'm going to be getting sentenced in 4 weeks, 6 weeks. I want to know if I qualify for RDAP. Man, why didn't you pick up the phone and call me before you did that PSR? That PSR is so important and people just don't get it. People do not understand how important that PSR is. They put way too much faith and hope into their attorneys, which is great. You need to let your attorneys do their job, but you also need to be willing to work on the situation and what can you be doing that your attorney's not doing for you. Your attorney is not going to work harder than you're going to work. They're just not. Your attorney's got your case and God knows how many other cases on his caseload to be able to afford his practice, his student loans. I mean, they've got these lives that they got to maintain. So how much time and effort and interest do you really think they have to make sure that you're going to how interested do you think your attorney is to make sure you're going to qualify for RDAP? Do you really think that is something that they're so interested in? How interested do you think they are to make sure that your PSR is proper? If they were, they would spend a hell of a lot more time actually preparing you for that interview process, which that interview process, it comes and goes so fast and you're not even sure what's going to happen for a couple of weeks until you get it back. That's why it's up to you to take that portion of what's in your control and learn as much as you can so you're not reliant. Everybody wants to blame. Almost everybody that I've spoken to after the fact tells me, is there any way I can appeal a 2255, which is basically saying ineffective counsel. My attorney didn't do his job. Well, what didn't your attorney do? Well, he didn't prepare me for RDAP. He didn't tell me about this. It's like, okay, it's not really his job to completely prepare you for RDAP. His job is to work out a plea that you're happy with. Now you're finding out about these additional things that your attorney may not be that aware of, and you want to get frustrated and go blame your attorney. Once again, you're not taking the accountability of what could you have done differently. You know, instead of sitting there with your head in the sand, crying and sulking and boo-hoo, you're going to leave your kids behind and your wife's going to be without you and you don't know what to do. It's like, okay, I get it. You're scared, you're afraid, you're alone. That's what this fucking channel is for. Pick up your phone and quit sitting there and blaming everybody else. You know, and I'm not taking this out on anybody specific, but I'm telling you, it is frustrating to hear these sob stories, and there's so much that people could have done differently. I mean, look, I didn't have a prison consultant. I didn't know they really existed till the end. But man, I'm telling you what, I did my fucking homework. Guys, I fought and fought and fought. As frustrated and sad and depressed as I was about going to prison and the unknown of what prison was going to be like, I still did as much research as I could to make sure that I had the ability to qualify for different programs. I never stopped hustling. I never stopped working every single day. You know, I didn't know how important personal narratives and character references were until I got closer to the end. And then I found out how important these things were, from asking questions, from reaching out and talking to other people that were on my case, what they were doing. And I'm telling you guys have an upper hand, because it's not just me. There's a few prison consultants out there now that are posting out relevant content to give you guys the information that you need, giving you resources, giving you tools, giving you exercises how to deal with the anxiety. It's up to you guys what you're going to choose to do to make your situation better than what it is right now. These lawyers only care about wins and losses. It's up to us to dig into our cases. After the plea, the lawyers disappear. It's up to you to get into your case. Willpower, I mean, that's pretty much exactly right. When you hire your attorney, you're hiring him under the situation that you're hiring him under, you're so naive to the situation and so unknowing of how everything works and what to expect that in a lot of cases you don't know what questions to ask your attorney. We all say the same thing. I don't want to go to prison. What's going to happen to me? What can you do for me? How much time am I going to get? Your attorney, really what he does is he goes to the prosecutor, says, this is what my client knows. This is the information my client has. He wants to cooperate. You know, he wants to proffer. What are you willing to give him? Well, if he proffers this and that, 60 months, 48 months, whatever it is, brings it back to you and says, hey, we need to take this plea. Because if you don't take the plea and you go to trial, you might be looking at a hell of a lot more time. So this is the blackmail that they're offering you. This is this is as good as it's going to get for you. So take it or leave it. And almost 99% of us will take it. We may not take it up front because we're in denial that we're going to do any prison time, because we're still listening to our friends and family that are telling us the judge and prosecutor are going to see that you're a really good person and that you don't deserve to go to jail, because only bad people go to jail. That's what we want to believe. That's the bullshit that we hear from our friends and family, because they really believe that, because that's what most of us really believed prior to getting into these situations that we're in. But now we've been in it long enough to where we should know that really good people make some bad decisions once in a while, and some of those bad decisions land us in prison. So good people go to prison every single day. The judge is not all of a sudden going to go, you're a good person, you don't deserve to go to prison. And the small percentage that may happen, don't count on it happening to you. Best case scenario for somebody like us is maybe we put so much hard work and effort in, and we put in so many community hours. We've got such an awesome network of mentors that we've built. We've got really good, proper personal narratives, character reference letters that we put time and effort into. We've got an amazing PSR that gets to demonstrate to the judge. And then when the judge looks at all of this and he's got his personal narrative from you and character reference letters from your friends and family, and it's not the same old shit that he's read over and over again where it's just begging and pleading for probation and give me a second chance in life, and my mom is sick and my daughter is sick and my kids are going to do bad. When the letters don't look like that and they're completely the opposite, truly you being accountable for your actions, it looks different, and you're likely to get a different outcome than what everybody else has gotten. And a lot of times it even shocks the attorneys, because the attorneys don't focus on that part of it. They don't know what to put into a personal narrative because they don't care. They don't have enough bandwidth within their day-to-day to focus on that. That's not what their main focus is. Their main focus is to paperwork back and forth with prosecutors and agents to get you something that you're at the end of the day going to have to swallow. And it's that you're going to have to do it. So your attorney is like, hey, I'm the middleman. I'm the mouthpiece for you to them, because they have to deal with an attorney. You're not going to represent yourself. So you're either going to be getting a federally appointed attorney or a ridiculously high priced attorney. A halfway decent federally appointed attorney combined with a good prison consultant can get you in a tremendous amount of success throughout your case. And success is dependent on what you consider success. Success does not mean not go to prison. Success means get the best possible outcome that you could possibly have, serve it in the best possible destination location, have the best possible ability to take programs like RDAP, putting as much in your corner that is a realistic opportunity and a realistic outcome that you can possibly do. So a halfway decent attorney, whether it's paid or federally appointed, combined with a prison consultant, which I think it's fair to say the cost of a federally appointed attorney and a prison consultant is going to cost you far less than what it's going to cost you to go out and hire an expensive private attorney that may get you the same outcome. We talk to a lot of these guys that have spent big money, anywhere from $30,000 to $100,000+ on legal fees, and tell you they don't feel they got anything different than what they would have had if they would have had a federal appointed attorney. But they all tell you, the one thing that you'll hear from guys that have hired prison consultants, that have actually gotten consultants that are working on their situation, they will all tell you that they feel, because of what they know now with a prison consultant, that their situation is a million times better than what it would have potentially been, from the amount of time that they're going to get, from where their mentality is, for how sooner that they might get out, to the programs that they can take advantage of that they would not have been able to take advantage without a prison coach or prison consultant, guys. That's why we do what we do. It's not just because, oh, we need to make a living. For me, making a living was secondary. You guys all know, when you watch my early videos, I was not doing this as a living. I was just making YouTube videos, putting out content because I wanted to give stuff back from the situation that I went through, where I felt like I was so confused and so lost and so scared and felt alone. I didn't want other people to have to go through that, so I just started putting out the content, and it just turned into what it is today because of the need for it. Me have to make a decision whether I'm going to hold a full-time job or do this. I had to pick one or the other, could not do both, to where I can give this type of intensity, this type of time and dedication into what I do. So this is what I chose to do as my passion and my career. So it's like I get the best of both worlds. I'm completely satisfied with what I'm doing. I love the results. I love the outcome. I love to see you guys make successful decisions and choices. But the most important thing that I really, really enjoy seeing, what gives me the most gratification, is seeing you guys reduce your anxiety, reduce your mental anguish, being able to sleep at night, not needing to have to call me 24 hours, 24/7, because you're finally getting to deal with the issues and realizing that, hey, I'm accepting that I'm going to prison. It's not going to be the end of the world. I'm not going to think about it as this horrible situation. I'm going to think about it as an opportunity to better myself. Everybody that's gone into prison that I've been working with, that I know now, is all telling me the same thing. They don't mind where they're at. They're getting through it. They're in programs. There's nothing to be worried about. They don't know why they were so freaked out. So at some point, you guys are going to keep hearing this repetition over and over again from everybody going in that you're watching, and you're going to start to see the trend is, doesn't sound like prison's that bad. Once you get to accept that and you get over the hump of the fear of prison, you start to just digest and accept that, hey, I'm going. What can I do about the fact that I'm going? What can I control now? What programs can I take? What classes can I take? What type of degrees can I get? What jobs are going to be out there for me? What do I need to start doing to prepare for those jobs? What type of exercises am I going to do? What kind of books am I going to read in prison? What's my, maybe you have a goal. You want to read 50 books while you're in prison, or 100 books while you're in prison. What are those 100 books going to be, and why are you picking those 100 books? Come up with stuff that's A, going to eat up time, and B, is going to feed your mind, so when you do get released, you are not in the same fucked up spot that you're in that caused you to go to prison, or else it was all for nothing. You can't just come out of prison and go, well, that was a big waste of time. If people that come out of prison and say it was a waste of time, they wasted their time. Prison wasn't a waste of time. They were a waste of time and didn't learn anything from it. So learn something from the experience. Most of you probably won't go back to prison. White-collar criminals are not that likely to reoffend because they've learned their mistake. But do more than learn your mistake. Change the type of person you are. We don't need to be manipulators. We don't need to be shady. We don't need to lie to get what we want. We don't need to always be in control. We don't need to be powerful. It's okay to let somebody else take the reins. It's okay to be wrong. It's okay to change your mind and be okay with that. Some people may have wanted Donald Trump to be president, and then maybe you've changed your mind now that he's been president for a while, and you see the choices and decisions and the tweets that he sends out. Maybe you want to change your mind, but you don't want to admit that because it makes it look like you made a wrong choice. People change their minds every day. I've decided that I think it was a bad choice for Donald Trump to become president, even though I was all for it when he was getting elected. Now I'm not so sure, and I'm okay with saying that out loud because I'm allowed to change my opinion. My opinion changes as more facts reveal themselves, and so should everybody else's. You shouldn't be so dead set in a way that you're not willing to ever change your mind or see somebody else's point of view because of your ego. If you can't control your ego, guys, you're going to be really struggling through this incarceration period. Let me read. Will's got a lot to say over here. Let's see what Will's talking about. I followed Todd's lead and started to bust my ass. I did community service on my own, listened to Dan about doing a correct letter, and got into my case. Dan and Shelly have helped me even on a mental state. Just calling to see how I am was huge for me. Dan made things very easy for me and got me through the mental pain. It's about accepting your position. Once you can do that, it gets a little better. And that right there is why I do what I do, guys, because of statements like that. And I didn't do anything. Will did it himself. The only thing that I did was threw some seeds out in the grass, threw some water at it. I'm not saying anything to Will that he probably hasn't heard from other people throughout his life. But most of us that are going through this situation, we become vulnerable. Finally, we become open and realize I am fucked and I need help. And where can I get that help from? And if I'm there at the right time to give you the help that you maybe have turned down and ignored so many other times and didn't even know it was being offered to you because some of us were so close-minded, so egotistical, so nobody's going to tell me nothing. I'm the CEO of a company. I own my own business. How am I going to listen to you, or what are you going to tell me? Man, if you can't drop your guard and realize that you don't know who you're going to learn something from, you are missing out on life. You do not know who you're going to learn something from. It could be the bum on the street or it could be the CEO on Wall Street. You do not know where information and knowledge and power is going to come from, which means you have to be on guard and accepting of it all times. You can't dismiss anything that somebody's saying because there might be something that applies to you. Everything, RDAP, what we're learning in books, positive thinking, motivational speakers, the Bible, doesn't mean you have to agree with everything you see, hear, or read, but it means you chew up the meat and you spit out the bones. So whatever's not relevant to you, you're not gonna retain that. But the stuff that is relative, you're gonna retain it. And the stuff that you don't know is relative, a lot of the stuff that we're talking about right now, cognitive thinking, skills, rational thinking, irrational thought processes, not dwelling on negativity. It might sound like mumbo jumbo right now, but when the moment is right and those seeds that we're planting, once they grab root and they start to grow, then you're going to remember back to a lot of these conversations and it's going to make sense. That's the whole point of progress. Change is not an immediate event. It is a process. It doesn't happen overnight. You can't expect it to. But when you make fucked up decisions like going out and saying, I'm not going to go do the community hours, but I want the benefit from the community hours, so I'm going to find some guy and give him a bunch of cash and some drugs because I think he's going to do something for me. Then you get taken advantage of and you don't get the community hours. And now you're wondering that shit, this guy might be turning evidence against me and he might be an undercover, either an agent or a snitch narking on you. And guess what? You just fucked yourself even more. For what? Because you didn't want to go do some fucking community service. And you know who you are, you know who I'm talking to, and I still love you. You're still my client. I'm not, and I realize some people learn at a different rate. Some people need to get clunked on the head a few times. Doesn't mean you can't make progress. It just means you have to recognize that that is something you struggle with wanting things now and not wanting to work for them. And it's okay that that's what you struggle with, but at some point, you got to come to terms with that and realize that is the issue that you need to work on. And once you identify that that's the issue, you can then start to work on it. But you can't work on it if you keep repeating the same behavior. So if you're watching this video right now, I'm picking on you a little bit, just because I want to see you do the right thing. And if it doesn't hit you in the face hard, then you're not gonna see the mistake. And look, even if you don't get caught from that and you get away with it just fine and you get all your community service hours, the next time you're going to make that decision, the next time after that, the next time after that. So if you're watching this video right now and you're living that type of life and you're making those kind of choices and you're trying to skirt the system, take shortcuts, stop. It's simple. Just fucking stop, because it's going to catch up with you and it's going to affect you. It's going to affect your children. It's going to affect your wife. It's going to affect your husband. It's going to affect your friends. It's going to affect everybody around you. So stop being selfish and do what you have to do to start making better decisions, become a better person. That doesn't always relate to getting out of prison sooner. Be the person you want to be, not for anybody else, for yourself. If you fix yourself and you work on yourself, everybody else will benefit from it. But if you're trying to fix yourself for somebody else, the minute that other person might disappear out of your life, you're going to stop, because you're going to say it was for nothing. Why did I make all these changes if you're just going to leave me? You're going to find out once you start making these changes and you start actually conducting a better life that you want to live, you're going to see people disappearing out of your life, because they are not going to be on the same level as you anymore, and you're going to see yourself distancing from them. You're going to see yourself moving up and them not wanting to move up with you and still being stuck in that ugly spot in life where they're still trying to take these shortcuts, and you're going to recognize all that risk and exposure that they're taking, and that you're going to go, oh my God, that used to be me. That's what I see now. When I see people doing the type of things that I used to do, I'm like, I can't fucking believe I used to do that. I'm so terrified now to do anything that could jeopardize the hard work and the effort that I've put in to get to where I am right now. And it would take one fucking bad decision to blow it all out of the water, because we're not remembered for the good things that we've done. We're remembered for every fucking mistake that we ever make. You can count everything that you know worth to you on that you can make all the best decisions in the world. When you make that one bad one, that's the exposure. That's what people remember you for. It's scary, because there's a lot of haters out there. There's a lot of people that want to see you fucking not make it. There's a lot of people that are like hoping you get a lot of time. And some of these people might call themselves your friends and your family. But deep down inside, they don't want you to get probation. It's like watching a train wreck. They want to see something fucked up happen because they get off on that. So you have to be able to identify those kind of people and cut them out of your life, because the minute they get a chance to poke you, they're going to poke you. So don't allow those kind of people in your life, guys. Put yourself in the type of strength and love and compassion of people that you want to be able to give back. So decide what kind of person you want to be, guys. Decide if federal prison is going to produce mental freedom for you, or if it's going to lock you up even further, even beyond prison. It's scary. That's really all I got tonight, guys, for that. That was a pretty emotional conversation, something that means a lot to me, because it's something that I have really struggled with throughout my life, on always telling myself I'm a good person throughout my entire life. I'm a good person. I'm a good person. Meanwhile, I kept making these series of bad decisions, bad choices, being a bad husband, being what I thought I was a good dad, but clearly I wasn't, because I made a lot of bad choices where it caused me to get divorced, caused me to go to prison. So it was hard to look at the person that I really actually was. And I had to stop pretending that I was the person that I portrayed surface level. That's why I liked having random friends, going out with people that I didn't really know that well, because you can bullshit them and lie to them and create this facade. You can't do that with people that are real. And I really didn't like being around people that called me on my bullshit. I would avoid those people because it was hard to hear. Now, it's the only kind of people I want in my life. I want people to call me out when I do something that's wrong, when I get angry or lose my temper. My kids now know to tell me that, hey, relax. It's not that serious. And I have to be willing to go, you know what? You're right. Instead of going, you don't know anything. Don't talk to your dad like that. Fuck that. If your kids tell you something you need to hear, you better take it. Like we just said a few minutes ago, you never know where you're going to hear something from. So if you're acting like an asshole and one of your kids tells you you're being a jerk right now, don't jump to that almighty, I'm your father, you can't talk to me like that, or I'm your mother, you can't talk to me like that. Realize and think about it. Were you an asshole, and was your kid telling you something that you just might need to hear? Well, guys, that's about all I got for tonight. Remember, subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed the content. Do me a favor. After the video is over, it takes about 30 or 40 minutes to process. At that point, you can leave comments. So for those of you that watched the video or watching it later on, please, if you liked anything about this content, post it in the comments on the video, on the description of it, so other people can see what it is that you got from this video. Give them a reason to want to watch it, because you don't know who's going to need to hear something specifically. Every video is a little bit different, guys. We all know that. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. Make sure you check me out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, all of that good stuff. Text the word YouTube to 35074 if you haven't already done so. That puts you on a alternate notification list on letting you know of not just live events, but specials and promotions and other cool things that we might be doing here in the future. So do me a favor, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, guys. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me today. Sorry I had to run a little bit early, but got my kids here for 2 weeks. I want to try to spend as much time with them, so I have to kind of work with what I got. Love every single one of you. I'm RDAP Dan. You guys have an amazing night. I will see you Wednesday. I'm out of here. Peace.